Welcome to the Aaron Jack Show. Today we're going to have Violetta Zironi on here with Doing Good HQ, the beautiful NFT platform we're here with, where the artist can be the creator. So we're going to talk about music today, music and NFTs with Violetta. I'm so happy to be here with you, the audience, whenever now is for you, right here and now, because that's where we're at in time. So thank you for tuning in every week, for being here with us. I'm really excited to have Violetta on here. She's been exploring community and NFTs and where we are today with all of this. So thank you so much. We're going to be right back here in a minute with Violetta. And here we are with the invitation of now, to be here in culture, in music, in life, together. Thank you so much for joining. Hey.
Hi, Aaron.
Hey, thank you so much for joining from the other side of the city.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, you've been making a splash in the music and NFT scene, and I just really want to know what inspired you inside the community to build and grow both online and offline and bridge these gaps.
What inspired me? I mean, I was looking for a change. I was looking for a change of direction, new inspiration. And when I heard about NFTs and Web3 community, I was like, I think this might be it. This might be what I'm looking for. And I literally dropped everything that I was doing and I dove right into it head first. And that's when I really started developing the community online that in the end is also an offline community, because yes, we chat online, but we will meet, we will do things together. They will come to my concerts. And so yeah, it's just amazing that it's the first time that I really have a strong community.
Well, maybe you could tell us a little bit more about this community, because I know that there's a lot of musicians out there that are maybe hesitant to get into NFTs and are hesitant to build online and don't really understand this space. And maybe you could share a little bit about what you've learned from this time growing this community.
I think the fact that musicians are maybe hesitant, I understand that in a way, because we are not necessarily, musicians are sociable people, or you know, some of us are very reserved and we like to play our songs and just play our gigs and not really interact. So I understand that. But at the same time, um, I feel like if you're not building a community like that one, and it doesn't mean that every community is like great. I feel like the Instagram community, in my opinion, and I'm sorry we are on Instagram, I'm gonna have to say it, but it's not as good as the one that you can build on Twitter through Web3. That one is a lot more interactive, and I feel like if a lot of musicians tried that, they would feel so satisfied and so fulfilled and just filled with support and love that I think they would change their mind. But the first step towards it, I think a lot of people are used to the Web 2 community, which is very one directional. So on Instagram, for example, it's all about I post, you watch, and that's it. There's no real interaction. Whereas in Web3, it's really different.
Maybe you could talk a little bit about that difference, because I think that, first we've had some questions here, just about like NFTs and the blockchain, just like at a very basic level for musicians and how to understand it. But I think then it's, what is that interaction, and how do you consider that interaction in Web3 as a musician?
You cut out there for a
Oh,
second.
oh,
Repeat.
yeah. Basically, like at a basic level for musicians, what are NFTs, or what can NFTs be? Have you seen as NFTs? Because I've worked with a lot of musicians in NFTs, and they've said a lot of different things. But I'm curious for you how you view NFTs because of your how you've interacted with the community, and how do you explain and share and grow with that community?
Um, well, yeah, I mean, you can explain it really simply. NFTs are a collectible. And the people that collect NFTs will interact with each other because they may be missing one. They want to grow the value of this collectible that they all own. Um, and the artist, who's the leader theoretically of this community, works with them to grow this value of this collectible. It's just a collectible and access to the artist, which is the great thing about NFTs, because you have the utility as well. It's not just like a mere collectible, but you also have this kind of utility. This is how I view it. This is how I think everyone should view it. And so if the community works together with the artist, with the founder, whatever NFT project it is, like, you need to have a strong community in order to make a successful project, I believe. So I think that's what NFTs are. They're collectibles with a strong community around it. When you think about trading cards, the trading cards community, I don't know, Pokemon, like, they meet up all the time and they bargain and they trade and they sell and they buy, and they are a community that works together strong to grow the value of this collectible. And it's the same with NFTs, in my opinion.
That's very interesting, from the side of collectibles and how to view it as a musician, and like in the fine art side of it. How do you bridge this gap to share with the musician who's coming from like the purely music side, to kind of get their head around what it really means to dive into the space, um, and to be a part of this community, and to grow themselves as an artist, and to grow their careers?
Yeah, well, the first thing you have to do is add value, contribute to the community, and realize your worth, because a lot of the times musicians fail to understand their value. There's a lot of this imposter syndrome going around, and it's something that I had the opposite. Like, in Web 2, I was like, I cannot believe that my music is valued this little money and this little attention. It's worth so much to me. It means so much to me. Why is it not getting recognized or paid for, or just valued as it should be? And so a lot of musicians have this kind of trauma in their head that music should be free, that music is to be taken for granted. It's just noise in the background, when it's really not. Music is fine art. And so they struggle to make that mind shift, where people are willing to pay $10,000 for your music NFT, for your music video, because it is something that not many people in the world can do. You only can do it. And musicians are not used to this, because we are told that we're not enough ever. And that's true. By record labels, managers, booking agents, publishers, they always have a say on how you're not enough this or too much that. With NFTs, you have the freedom to do whatever you want and channel directly your audience without having to go through a gatekeeper or someone who will tell you yes or no. Like, you will go straight to the person that will consume your music, and they are willing to pay big numbers for it if they really love it, if they really believe in the value. And also, on top of that, there's more like the business side of it, where you if you work really hard with your community, you can create that FOMO thing, you can create that hype, And then all of a sudden, if you grow as an artist also in Web 2, your NFTs are really, really valuable. So there's so much to it, honestly, that is so convenient for musicians.
Now, I think what's interesting is that you jumped in fairly recently. Like I've been in since February of last year, and you've recently jumped in this, but you've grown a very strong community. You've put a lot of effort into this community in a short amount of time, relatively speaking. Can you speak a little bit to what you've been doing to grow this community? Because I've stopped by many of your Twitter spaces, and I've been so happy to participate in them. Um, and I find them very valuable of what you've been offering to provide for the larger community. And could you speak a little bit to like what you found that has worked, what didn't? You've changed your spaces over your Twitter spaces over time, and what you found within the value that you're able to offer the community and that balance for your own artistic building.
Yeah. So yeah, what I started doing was really host these Twitter spaces. And at the beginning, we didn't have many people come in. I really wanted to hear people's stories, people's music, but also different kind of artists and their journey, what brought them there to the NFTs, because that was kind of what I wanted to know. You know, I was like, okay, I got here out of desperation, kind of, because I'm really exhausted about what's going on out there. I'm looking for a change. And I wanted to hear everybody else's reasons and everybody else's stories. And that was my first kind of topic of Twitter spaces that I hosted. And I think I should say I did host them every single weekday for the last almost 4 months. So I did not fail once. Like they're always, always on every day, sometimes for 2 hours, sometimes for 10 hours, sometimes for 11 hours. We just keep going. So
You cut off. There we go. You're back. You're back.
yeah.
Sometimes for 11 hours, you said.
Yeah, sometimes for 11 hours. But yeah, it's important to show that you're there, that you show up, that you care. You know, no matter what it is that you're doing, if you're showing up, it means that you care and that you're committed. So for your community and for potential investors, that's very, very important. It means you're not just coming in for a cash grab or uh, you're not taking it seriously. Like it shows that you are taking it seriously. And not a lot of musicians do what I did, but it means they don't take as seriously as I do. I'm sorry, but that's the only that's the only way, you know, because if you were taking it like if that was your only resource, you would be doing that 24/7. If it's not, then you do it a little bit less, you know, which is also okay. It just means you're a little bit less committed, and the community needs to know that, and that's a way to show them. At the same time, one of the first things that I read when I first started studying about NFTs and like how to sell an NFT was, you know, make sure you contribute to the community, other communities too. So go into other communities, discords or spaces, and add value, bring value to them. And I was thinking, how the hell would I bring value? Like, I don't know anything about this stuff. And then I realized, I said, okay, I can sing. That is the value that I can bring. So I started surfing across the metaverse community from to community to community and just singing my songs live on Twitter Spaces. And I ended up, you know, I ended up being like a 17 hours a day jukebox. Like I seriously was singing the whole time. I don't know, like the same song maybe 10 times in a day. Um, but that's how people got to know me and how they got to know my project and my music. And in that way, you don't even have to sell yourself, especially as a musician. This is such an advantage that we have. We don't need to speak. We can just play the music and the music speaks for themselves. And then that's the first door open, you know, door open. If they like the music, you're in. And then they will ask you questions because you'll have gotten their attention. So what you got going on? You have an NFT project? Tell me, what's the roadmap? What's the utility? And there you have to be ready to really explain it and really let them know that you understand exactly what it is that you're doing, uh, because people will catch you if you don't. Like, it's absolutely ruthless. Like, they will know. So you have to really believe in it and really understand what it is that you're doing and why you're doing it. But just like with everything else, it's just being 100% onto something, bringing.
I think that's really interesting. Oh no, go for it.
No, no, go ahead.
Oh, I think that's really interesting. What you're saying is going in and creating value within other communities, as well as creating your own. You're not just going into other people's spaces and singing. You're also, they're also asking you questions, and then you're responding. You then become a voice, and then you're also talking about providing spaces that give other people a voice and a chance to share their music as well and their stories.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Um, yeah, I mean, that's what I did with my spaces. At first, it was all about other people sharing, and me kind of sharing through my questions or through the conversation. And then it got really focused on the music aspect. So we would have people come up and perform and play their music, and that was really cool. But at the same time, one thing that I really wanted to do and that the music spaces didn't really allow me to do was build a bridge between the music community and other communities, such as PFP communities or photography communities. Um, I really wanted those people to come into the music NFT space because music NFTs are still unfamiliar territory for a lot of people. Despite having been around for a while, a lot of people still don't necessarily understand what they are and they don't understand their value. So I wanted to bridge that gap. And so I started focusing my spaces on that. Like, what are music NFTs? Like, PFP communities, welcome. And I started seeing all the people that I'd met through surfing in the other communities coming through and understanding, asking questions. Okay, how does this work? Okay, so what do I get with NFT? Is it the same thing as a PFP? So this slowly started happening. And so when I then dropped my music NFT, and I was doing it because I realized that I'd met so many people who didn't know what music NFTs are. I wanted them to buy mine. So I I started educating them, and then once I dropped my moonshot collection, um, like probably 70% of them is their first music NFT. First time they buy a music NFT. So mission accomplished for me. you know.
Now, I'm very curious in this. You were collaborating with a lot of people, that it wasn't just, hey, you go on by yourself, but you had a certain way with your Twitter spaces of collaborating with other people in the space, and you had certain people that you had on every time that you featured and they featured you, and this went back and forth. And I think it's important for the audience maybe to understand a little bit of that behind the scenes and how to get that going, or some of the thoughts and ideas that you had behind that, and how to build and grow together.
Well, this is another thing that I think is really important in this space. You have to be generous. You have to be selfless and contribute. And make other people shine if you want to shine. Be nice. And yeah, really be selfless. So I try to give as much space as possible to other people, first of all, because I know how hard it is to sometimes just get a platform of like 10 people to listen to you. It's really hard. So if you could do it in my space, like, I'm happy that I can be the one who gives you that opportunity. And then I knew that if I give them love, I would receive love back, and that's what happened. I was very, very open for everybody to come and share. Like, no matter what you do, just come in and share. And these people remember that, they do. So when I need something or when I need to come and share in their space, they're going to be very supportive for me. And that's the community. You know, that's exactly the fifth essence of the community concept, like support each other.
I think that's really beautiful is the support each other. And how do you go about coordinating all of it? Because I know you work a lot, it's not just on the front end, there's messages, there's communications, there's calls, there's many things that happen on the back end that I feel like um, more people should be aware of, that if they want to do, build and grow themselves as artists, as creatives, that it's not just showing up with a Twitter space and saying like, hey, okay, like I did this once and now it's over. There's a lot of work that goes into these, correct? And relationships.
Yes, absolutely. I think you have to be completely genuine. Like you have to want to know your community. So not just show up in the Twitter spaces, but I respond to every single DM that I get. Every single one I respond, whether I follow that person or I don't, I respond to their DM. Every time in my Discord, people ask something, if I can, I respond, and people tell me all the time, thank you so much for responding, I didn't expect it, blah blah blah, but I really really respond to everybody, every comment, every tweet that people write, where they mention me, where they tag me, every photo, everything, I respond to everything. And it's you would think it's not a big deal, but actually when you start getting hundreds of DMs a day, and a lot of mentions in tweets and stuff, and you have to respond to every one of them, it starts taking some time. But that pays off. That does. You have to really, um, you have to show that you care, and on the side as well, on the back end, like you said, build those relationships, maybe with a couple of people that you feel like you connect with better than others. Definitely talk, like get out of your comfort zone and treat them as friends, because that's who they are. They're there to support you. You're there to support them. You want to win together, so you should have a conversation. Like otherwise, it doesn't work. It's way more intimate than people think. The community is like really strong, really, like people on Discord become really, really close to each other because they literally are on the same team and they're trying to make money together, and when it's about money, everyone's like very strong about it. So yeah, I think you have to nurture all these relationships on the back end too. And some people then, like after a couple of weeks of talking, we exchange numbers, we talk on the phone, because you become friends, and I've never even seen them. So, yeah.
I think this is a really interesting point that, how as a musician, how as an artist, we go beyond just like, okay, now we've contributed to somebody else's space, we've showed up once in a while, but now we're creating spaces for others. We're giving of, holding spaces for other people's stories, holding spaces for just other people to share and be them. And then also creating these relationships and giving to these relationships, where it goes beyond just a Discord message or a Twitter DM, that it goes into like phone calls and collaborations. Hey, can you show up for this Twitter space or show up for that, and be there for each other?
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I'm curious. So, this Moonshots project, maybe you could talk a little bit about this project, how it came about, and what you've learned so far from this project.
Yeah, so the Moonshot project, it came about because I had this record that I'd made last year and I really wanted to put it out. It was the second collection I did this year. The first one was very small and very like, simple, 16 pieces, but it went really well, like we had really good sales. We had a one of one selling for 5 ETH the other day, so like really good. And then I wanted to make something bigger, something where I could expand my collection, like connection, collection, community. I can do this. And really give access to a lot of people, because I felt like I had been building quite a strong and big community. So I wanted them all in the community. And I wanted to add like an artistic value to it as well. So I asked my dad to do the art, because he is a Disney artist. So I thought, hey, we can like, work together on this as well, which is pretty fun. Um, and yeah, and then we dropped it just 10 days ago. What I've learned from it is like, okay, I mean, we dropped it and the sales went really well at the beginning, really, really well. And then it did slow down a little bit. And I realized I did some like data analysis a little bit. I thought, okay, we sold 1,500 pieces, which is a lot, 1,500 music NFTs, but only the buyers and the holders are like 1/3 of that. It's like 500 people bought 1,500 NFTs, which is crazy in my opinion. It means they all bought a lot of them. So those 500 ones are really strong. Like really, really, they believe in the project a lot. But then I expected it to sell more in the first 10 days, seeing the hype and the support that there was around the project and around me as an artist up until the launch. I really thought we have 2,500 pieces. We all thought, okay, this is going to sell out in a week probably because of all the support. And then it didn't, and I like to be transparent about this, because I'm fine. I love the holders that there are now. Like they're really, really strong. And I talked about it with the community as well. But what I realized was that even though you think that you have worked your butt off for 3 months, like being generous and contributing and singing your heart out 24 hours a day, the majority of people will not come through. So people need to realize this aspect too. No matter how hard you work, you can always work harder, or you can not work hard. I couldn't have really worked any harder than that, but you can only reach a certain point. You have to work for longer. Like it has to be a year's process. So that's the main thing I learned, that sometimes just it's not what it seems. What's going to happen is just not what it seems. And yeah, I mean, I'm really happy with the community that we have now. We're really strong, like really solid, and we make decisions together. I'm very transparent to them, which is great. I wouldn't want it any other way. And maybe, if it sold out in 5 minutes, I would have had a whole lot of people that didn't know what they were buying into, not faithful to the project. So I'm very happy to have like a smaller and strong community and then grow organically. But yeah, that's what I learned. I was expecting everyone to come and buy one of my NFTs, and only 500 people did. I doubled my Twitter following since I joined Twitter again like 3 months ago. I went from 16,000 to over 30,000 in 3 months. That doesn't mean anything. So yeah.
Yeah, I think this is really interesting what you're learning about numbers of followers, and what does that mean for actually being a member of the community and a collaborative member, and the interconnection of that community as well, like how much you're interconnected with it and how much they're interconnected with each other. What have you been learning about community in terms of the networks of people?
What do you mean the networks of people?
Well, like just like you're connected with 15,000 more people than you were a couple months ago, but still like there's how many of those people know each other, and how does that work with like your community building aspect?
Yeah, no, exactly. Like I I got so many followers in such a short time because I went to every possible space on the face of the earth. And of course, when there's a singer that sings, people want, and I have like a check mark, like a blue check mark, a blue check mark and stuff, and people want to follow me, but it's randomers, you know. It's just, it's not those tight followers that know each other and that.
Oh, you went away. Your voice went away.
Oh, can
Oh,
you hear
there you
me?
go. Yeah, yeah. They're not the types of followers. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're not that tight community that that you want to build. They're just numbers, which doesn't matter at all, because there's some projects that have maybe like 5,000 followers and they sell out, you know, in minutes, because their community is strong and they pushed very hard. So yeah, it doesn't really mean much.
I think this is really interesting is what does a strong community mean to you now that you've seen so many different communities in the last 3 months since fell into the space 24/7?
Yeah, for me, a strong community means a community that works together with purpose. You know, uh, I've learned from a bunch of communities how to control the price of your project, control the floor price, manage the sales, get through some some incidents that might happen. I know there was a community that got delisted from OpenSea, and it was a very strong community, and they had a problem with OpenSea, and all the listings on OpenSea weren't there anymore. And they survived through that, and their floor price didn't go down. They just, because they communicated very well. The leaders, the staff communicated very well with the community, and they all worked together to go through that hump, you know, and they did very well. So I think that's a strong community. But how do you build that? You build that also by creating like entertainment and, you know, events within the community. Like I do Discord concerts for my community every week. We do a concert on Discord. Or, you know, people do like poker night on Discord or whatever, different games, just to keep people engaged and getting to know each other. So when there is a problem like that, you know each other and you can work together to solve it.
You know, this is very interesting what you're saying about that it's not just like, hey, let's talk about the price and the utility. It's, you know, there's also entertainment and people enjoying life and getting together and getting to know each other. What have you learned about this? Because this seems like a crucial part that I feel like a lot of projects may be missing. It's not just informational 24/7, right?
Right. Right. It's about getting to know each other and sharing things. I know there's another community called the Quirkies, and they have spaces going on pretty much every day, all day. But and it's community members running the spaces, just kind of hanging out and checking in with each other. But then the official spaces from like the community managers and stuff, every day they have a night like music night, poetry night, ladies night, whatever, alpha trading night. So they try to vary, you know, their sources of entertainment, always be there with something that you can go to and learn something from. So I thought that was very exciting and very very interesting to see. And that's a super strong community. Their floor price is 2.6 ETH, very strong, you know, and they work on it together, and they don't really even go too much down the details like, okay, in order to keep this floor price we need to sell token number whatever whatever, you know. They don't do that. They just love each other a lot and respect the project, you know.
You know, that's very interesting. The respect of the project and putting on events to get to know each other and what community means in a Web3 era when we're, you know, some parts are separated by physical space, but also music is so wonderful to hear live. And how does that, how do you see that building forward into the future as we bridge this physical digital divide where we can't, where we're meeting up in person, where we go beyond the screen, you know, or the audio, or we come back to the audio?
Well, I think the communities that are being built here in Web3 on Twitter, on Discord, will reflect the IRL interactions. Uh, I know there's NFT NYC event conference happening in New York in June. I'm going, and I've already organized a few parties with a bunch of people that I've met online. And I mean, when we're gonna see each other, it's gonna be like we've known each other for years. Even though we haven't, I have no idea what some of them look like. But I'm really close friends with them. And then, for example, I am planning to do a tour of the US for, hopefully before the end of the year, and plan it around where the holders are, and really, with their help as well, book a tour of like small, intimate venues to literally just play for them. And we've already started talking with the community. They've started coming up with ideas for venues or like cities and stuff. So that's hopefully going to happen. But it's a global, worldwide community. And nowadays it's so easy to travel as well in the real life that um, I think these relationships will really reflect on the real world too.
I think what you're saying is really interesting, that since your community's building with you, they're in fact gonna help you build a tour, and gonna help you know where to go and connect with venues and get word out and be part of that. I think that's a really interesting point for musicians out there. And maybe you could share a little bit about more about that, because it seems like when it comes to tours, this is such a strong way to build a vibrant community across the world, and also be able to have groups of people in various places that you're going to, that are already connecting you to those physical locations.
Yeah, I think you're right. So this is actually a really important point. So what the NFT space and the whole metaverse thing really allows you to do is not, you don't have to like travel the world and play every single you know, the smallest bar in the smallest town in the Netherlands or whatever, and have a tour made of those where you play 250 gigs a year for $50 and you break your back traveling around with your guitar. I mean, we've all done that. Fun. But then once you have to do that for 30 years, like it starts really weighing on you, on your health, I think, and your morale as well. So what this new space allows you to do is travel the world and have your promo shows, your showcases around the world. It's literally like travel the world. Okay, in a day, if I play 10 Twitter spaces, it's like I played 10 different showcase festivals or conference shows or whatever. So you do those, you play your metaverse gigs as well, which I have done, and you research. It's like a concert. You have your metaverse shows, and that's how you broaden your audience. That's how you bring more people in. And then once you build your community, you have your holders of your project, you work with them and go to them, because they're the ones that allowed you to be there in the first place, because they bought your NFTs, which allowed you to book a tour, book your flights, and pay you for your food, and to make your new record. So they absolutely have the priority to come to your show. And you provide real life entertainment for them. But you don't have to anymore do those worldwide tours hoping that you onboard one fan at a time in person. That is very, very like tiring. Here, yes, you still onboard one person at a time, but you're not traveling the world, breaking your back, carrying a guitar and an amp and an upright bass on a train. Like it's, you don't have to do that anymore. And don't get me wrong, I liked doing that. It's a fun experience, but at one point you have to be more efficient, I think. So
So there's a matter of like connecting to the fans, and also growing and your own base and providing value, that it kind of benefits everyone to start out you know, a lot of these relationships in the metaverse to build, you know, to onboard people one by one, to understand you, to understand your music, to entertain and provide value through the music, and then move to the physical world, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The physical world becomes almost like a plus, you know, becomes like it's just for us now. Like it's just for us in the community. Not everyone's allowed in. Only the community members that believed in the project from the beginning. But I mean, this is not just about Web3. I mean, Web2 is the same. Like there's people that build their entire career without ever meeting community members, like on social media. You know, people build their entire career by posting pictures of their apartment, like, or their food. You know, so I mean, what you do as a musician in the metaverse and in Web3 is actually not that weird because you communicate with music and you build a community online, and then you're still gonna do your tours, you know, still gonna do your promo and hopefully get your songs out on the radio. It's just an addition, you know, and it's just really a way to have a team that is spread out in the world that's gonna help you push your songs as well. Because, for example, what holders have, they have the power. They, with the NFTs comes the right to use the music however they want. So that is an incentive for them to push. You know, if they use these songs, spread them out into the world, it's like they're working with me to promote this music, you know. So it's a community effort.
So there's an amount of like shared ownership also that you found as an interesting like bonus that you can provide. What have you found within like providing people with rights to your music, individuals' rights to your music, and where do you see that going? Is if like a company say buys that right to the music and uses it and makes millions off of it, like what is that? What is that relationship?
Well, I think I mean, the holders don't really have any like royalties or IP rights or master rights. They simply have like the license to use the songs for their own projects. And so if a company buys that NFT and ends up with the right to use the song and they make millions, I'm happy they did, you know, because they did it through one of my songs. And that means I provided value to one of my community members with one of my songs, and they couldn't have done it without the song. And the song will grow in value because it brought value to somebody else. And so the original NFTs then are going to have a whole different value to them. You know, so it's a win-win. You make, you know, if you want to make people, if you want to be rich, you have to make people rich. That same kind of thing. And it just, it's not about the money. It's about rich, like in terms of value for the community. You know, if you're successful as a community member, then the project that you're a member with of is going to be successful. So that's what I'm saying. You have to be generous, you know, not want it all to yourself, because then you're not going to win. Alone, you're not going to win.
Well, this is a very interesting point. Alone, you're not going to win. I like this terminology, and I think it's very interesting as like a musician to consider this because this is new. This may be like a new kind of framework because you're not just working with the producers, the, you know, everyone around it, the tour managers to, you know, for them to win as well. You're also working now a lot more closely, it seems, with your fans to say you, the fans, are going to win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like we are all going to win. And it's like, you know, they spend money, they invest. So they deserve to have a piece of the pie when it comes to winning. Like think about record labels. They invest, they give you money, and then they take everything, you know? So of course it translates when a regular person that's not a record label person gives you 150, 200, I don't know. Some people bought 40 of my NFTs, you know? So they spent real money on them. Of course they deserve to win too. It's not just something you know, for their pleasure. But of course, like it could be considered as that too, um, because music, like, you know, people say, what's the value of, what's the utility or whatever of the Mona Lisa of or a Picasso painting? You just buy it because of the value within the piece of art, you know, and you want to put it up in your house or you want to put it in a museum so everybody can see it, but you own it. If you want, you can sell it. So there's that aspect too. But I suppose that's more for like, you know, maybe one of one pieces, but at the same time there's also like, imagine, you know, I think it was the Wu-Tang Clan vinyl that was like unique, like super rare version sold for like $2 million, you know, and people ask what they don't ask what's the utility of that. No, you just have a really rare collectible. So there's those two aspects, but at the same time I think it's really important if you want that value to grow. I'm not Wu-Tang Clan, I'm not Nirvana, I'm not Michael Jackson, you know, but I can grow as an artist with the support of a tight community that believes in the project. You know, if I was Billie Eilish already, you know, I wouldn't need the community. Now I really do, you know, and they really, really support me and really bring a lot of value to me as an artist.
You know, that's really interesting is the idea of the the people around you, of the community supporting you, supporting the music, wanting to get it out there, investing in the project, investing really also in each other and saying like, hey, we're going to go out there. We even have a holder who's on here live with us.
I was just reading, hey.
But that's beautiful is we have holders, we have people who really want to see this move forward. And I'm wondering, what do you see moving forward into the future? How do you grow from here? What do you see? Where do you see this whole space moving, maybe for you, but also for others in the music industry?
I think eventually record labels are going to start coming in, and because they realize, and I can tell the musicians here in the room or here on Instagram, my project being 60% sold out generated almost 60, the equivalent of almost 60 million streams on Spotify. That's an important thing to keep in mind because if you have more funds to use to reinvest in your project, it's going to be better for your community, you know. So yeah, I think record labels are going to realize this pretty soon. They have already. I know that they're talking about it. I have friends who work in record labels and they talk about NFTs all the time. There's a couple of things they don't grasp yet, which is the community aspect. Because then you see artists like The Weeknd just dropping like photo pictures with a song, and dropping like 10,000 of them, and people don't really buy them that much, even because there's not this community aspect to it. But I think record labels are going to realize. I know that Spotify is looking to integrate NFTs in their system, just like, you know, kind of like Twitter has done it with the Twitter Blue thing. But I think Spotify is looking to do that with music NFTs, create a platform where you can stream or even buy music NFTs. So these are signs, big, big signs. I know that Warner Music bought a Bored Ape, you know, meaning they're starting to invest. They're going to try and buy all this stuff and then maybe fractionalize the ownership. And it just, the community aspect will get lost a little bit because there will be so many people that are part of this. So I recommend people getting in early, like with any kind of industry. You want to get in early and make your investments and be there when it blows up. I really think that music is going to blow up in the NFT space, just like real estate, just like finance, of course, and all that stuff. I think it will. So yeah, that's kind of where it's going, in my opinion.
You know, I think this is interesting. You know, you were saying that, you know, some of these larger names are just like releasing photos with their music and it's not really happening. And, you know, maybe some musicians are like, oh, I can just like release some and nothing happens. But there's something to you actually being on the spaces, it seems, and you being a part of the community as the musician, that it's not just like, hey, somebody else can do it. Like other people can help you, but there's an element of you as a musician needing to show up.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Because that's also part of the utility, is part of the cool thing about it. People have access to you. They get to hear from the founders. If they were to invest, they need to hear your vision, you know, and that's why I think music NFTs are going to be big, because the face behind these projects are musicians with a long experience before NFTs. I've been making music professionally for almost 10 years, you know, so you can count that I can do my job in terms of music. I've been independent in terms of like promoting myself and stuff, and just being my own record label. So you can count on me for that. Whereas a lot of PFP projects, the founders come out of nowhere. Like you don't know what they are, who they are, what they did before. You don't even know their name. With a music NFT, you know that we are fully doxxed. They say doxxed on Twitter is like when you are completely transparent. You can see my face. You can Google me. You can know where I live pretty much. So I'm not running away with the money, because you know where to find me if that happens. So it's really like an anti-rug thing. Like the roadmap is lifelong. The musician's gonna do music forever, you know, and this is just another way of channeling the music. And if the artist grows and the artist is really marketable outside and Web 2 as well, then the NFTs grow. So yeah, I really think that having access to the founders and the artists will implement the community very, very much. And you see some PFP projects that you don't even know who the founders are. The community is not that strong.
Right, right. There's an element of like connecting the founders with the project. There can be a lot of people, it seems, around the founders and helping you as the musician, right? There's many things that other people can do to help you, but if you as the musician, as the artist, as the creative, don't show up, there's like an element of disconnect, right?
Yeah.
how do you find that? Like, you know, the element of what you can have others help you with versus what you actually really need to do.
Well, personally, I have a very small team, and what my team helped me with was, of course, the blockchain technology aspect, the smart contract, and all that stuff that I'm not familiar with. And just the strategy, like what kind of releases are we going to do? But in terms of like marketing and expressing the idea and the concept behind the project, it's just been me, you know, all the time. And people are looking for a founder with a clear vision, you know, someone that knows what they're doing and knows what they're like, what they want. So I think it's really, really important to show up and be there and create the value, because a lot more and more people are starting to invest in the team, in the people, more so than in the art. Because yeah, collectors have different reasons why they invest. So some people in my community are just really passionate about the music, so they invest in that. Some other people told me, you are a very powerful, like we believe in you as a leader, as a person, as an investment. So some people invest for that reason too. So you have to cater to everybody, really.
Well, this is I think a really important point, is like investment in the leadership that you've been seeing, because you've fallen to this very, very quickly but very fast and at a very deep level. And so I think especially right now is where we were maybe 6 months ago. It's a different place where we were than 6 months ago or a year ago. And the idea of like, you know, the musician, the artist, the founders, you knowing who they are, you know, and the community knowing who those founders are, and believing in that vision as a long-term, you know, career, right? I mean, there's something
Yeah.
in that connection between the founder slash art, the idea of the founder artist.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the artist becomes an entrepreneur in a way, which as an independent artist you already are. You know, you are, because if you don't have a manager, if you don't have a record label, if you're doing your own finances and budget plans and business plans and whatnot, you are an entrepreneur running a small startup. And it becomes really, really enhanced in the NFT space when you have investors. You know, you have to convince them. You know, you're not just, you're not paying them to do the job for you. They are investing, and it's in their interest that the project grows. So they need to have that connection. Imagine like going to to a job interview or something, and you know you don't go yourself, but you send your mom, or you send someone else. Like, people want to meet you, because you're the one that they're gonna pay. So yeah, I think it's kind of a similar concept.
What have you learned about like leadership and being a founder as a musician since you've started? Because it seems like you've grown a lot as a person, as a founder, and connecting your musicianship to the founder kind of ideology and leadership within that.
Well, like I said, it's kind of been this way since I've been independent. um but like, for me it came pretty natural because I'm someone who likes asking for people's opinion, and I like talking, I like expressing my ideas, I like discussing ideas, so it came pretty natural to me. But I did discover certain things about myself that I didn't know I had. A lot of people approached me in the last few weeks or month to ask me if I could do the marketing for their project. And I never thought that that was something I had in me, that I was good at marketing something. And maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm good at marketing my project because I believe it. I don't know. Um, so yeah, but I just never had the opportunity to really speak to people directly. I was always intimidated by big record label guys that I had to justify myself with, Whereas here I just play my music and everyone's listening, and then I talk about it, and if you want in, you're in. If you're not, you're welcome to go. Like, so it came pretty natural to me, although I did find out stuff about myself that I didn't know I was capable of, like staying up, 21 hours a day and stuff, for example. Yeah, that's another thing. You've got to be prepared to lose sleep. That's for sure.
What from this, as the founder musician mentality, could you share with other musicians that haven't, really entered the NFT space, that might want to start going in? Maybe they haven't even started Twitter yet, that they're like, what should I do next? What are some next steps towards the direction where they could make, start to make part of their living in this NFT space?
First thing, do a lot of research. Make sure you understand how it work, how Web3 and blockchain technology works. Just kind of listen to podcasts, listen to Twitter spaces, take notes, do your research, like really, like as if you were studying in university. Like, it's no joke. So you have to really take it seriously. And then start, lurking in these Twitter spaces. Commenting to people's tweets and, lightly engaging. And then when you feel ready, raise your hand and go up to speak. And, if you can, contribute to the conversation that was being had, or else say, hey, I would like to introduce myself. I'm very new, and then just be honest and genuine. Don't ever like impose yourself to another community that's not well looked at. Always try and contribute as much as you can. But slowly and surely you will get there. You know, if you're authentic, if you're in it for the right reasons, people will understand. You do have to step out of your comfort zone a little bit. Like in order to speak in a Twitter space, you know, you have to be patient, you have to be you have to be very accepting, because there's people from all over the world that you might not get along with, and you have to accept those and respect those people too. So that's an important thing too.
This is a very interesting point about like respecting others and kind of playing in that realm, that it's a different realm than the physical world in some ways, because it's also interconnected, and one really does have to accept others, and lashing out can really, the things can resonate across and really change. What have you learned in that way of kind of the respectfulness that one must play in this realm?
Yeah, I mean, like in every field of your life, you have to have respect for other people. The thing is, in that space, people tend to express their thoughts a lot. And you gotta respect that too, you know, because you meet hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, every single day here on the spaces. You simply don't have time to argue with every person that you don't get along with. You want to learn something from them. Maybe they have something to teach you as well. Any piece of information that you can gather is useful. It's gold. So even from your worst enemy, from someone that you would never go out with because you don't get along with them, you might learn something from them because maybe they've been in the space longer than you. So you know, maybe they have something to teach you. And maybe they might support you one day. Who knows? You know, and you need every piece of support that you can get. So, yeah, respecting, and also it's such a new world that everyone who says was really experienced, they cannot possibly be, because it's been a couple of years max. So people have only a couple of years of experience in NFTs, maybe like maximum like 10 or 12 years in crypto if you're really, really early adopter, maybe 10 or 12 years, but that's it. You know, there's no such thing as like 20 or 30 years of experience in crypto. Like, no. So that's why you have to respect everybody, because, you know, we're all on the same level in the end, you know.
I think that respect is very interesting, and I'm very curious. As bridging these gaps between like the musician, the you were talking about how your team is built with like blockchain people and smart contract, and you learn from strategy people, and I know you have like DJs and other musicians on your stage, and you have other people that you're connected to in the technology realm and visual art realm, and finding that respect and connection across the different formats of understanding, audio, visual, technical. How do you find that you're able to bridge these gaps of information within yourself as a musician and as a musician founder?
Um, I mean, I think it's just really important to be open-minded to anything, because that's what I've learned. Um, like if you're stuck with your ways, you're not really going to get very far. Especially in this world, you have access to very smart people, people that are in movement earlier than everybody else, before everybody else. They're very, very smart. So even if you don't like their music, if you don't like the way they speak, they're in the same boat as you. So you got to pay them some respect and some attention, because they are definitely, definitely smart. So yeah, that's what I think, really. And it is a movement. I view it as a movement, as a revolution that people are building together. So you want to respect your teammates in general, even though you may not get along with them, you know.
That's really it. These are some interesting ideas for everyone out there, because I think we're all dealing with people of very different mindsets, from different backgrounds, from across the world, from, different technical ways of thinking, different ways of understanding the world, of taking in the world, of putting into the world, of different skill sets. And from Samuel, he's asking about uh, building the project in a way a tech company would be. And how do you view that kind of relationship between kind of like maybe what you've seen, how like or have you learned from like how other companies have built, or how did you learn this way of being a founder within the music realm? Or are you just kind of making it up as you go? Have you been listening and learning to more other musicians or founders or PFP projects? Like, what are you really looking at when you're building what you're doing?
Um, I guess I'm following my intuition. But I have learned a lot in the last 10 years being an independent musician, already a founder of a project, learned a lot about being transparent and, um, yeah, like building step by step and being humble. Uh, I think these are fundamental things that you have to have when you're building a project. And I'm just applying these concepts here and learning as time goes by. I haven't really studied anything, so I'm just kind of winging it, you know.
I love that. I love that. So as we wrap up here, I love that, just kind of like winging it, following the intuition, being a founder and leader as well as musician, and bridging that gap and what it takes to build projects within Web3 and talking to the people. So first I want to ask you, where can we find you across your social media? Spell it out for us: Instagram, Twitter, anywhere else, how to find your project. Give us the details here.
Yes, so of course you can find me on Instagram under the name of Violetta Zironi, Violettazironi, RNI, all together. That's my name and my surname. That's how you find me on Instagram. Spotify, the same thing, same name. You can listen to all my music here on every streaming platform. On Twitter, my Twitter handle is Zironi Violetta, just the same thing, but the other way around. And then, of course, you can check out my OpenSea account with all my NFTs, and it's always my name, Violetta Zironi, Violettazironi. Yeah, I'm sorry, not good at the spelling game. But yeah, that's, like I said, fully transparent. It's just me. There's no avatars or nicknames. It's just me through the board. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's really beautiful. It's not just you're not just an avatar. You may show up one day in a city near near you or near me in Berlin, playing a live show.
Yeah.
Somewhere around the world maybe.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, just from your heart, what do you feel like the world needs to know today, just to share something to the world?
um, NFTs are the future. That's it. That's what I'm gonna share.
And do you have any last words for us today?
Thank you so much for having me. This was a great conversation. I'm glad some people tuned in. A lot of people tuned in. I see some familiar faces, people from my community too. So thank you guys for coming in. I haven't really responded to the comments, but I saw everything. So thank you for being here. And yeah, I'll see you guys on Twitter probably.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I
Thank
really
you so much. Thank you,
wrap up
Aaron.
here. Thank you. Thank you. So thank you so much to the audience here today, whenever today is. I'm Aaron Jack, your host of the Aaron Jack Show here with Doing Good HQ. I'm so glad to have had Violetta Zironi on here today and share with you some amazing just wisdom from the last few months of her learning and delving in deep into the Web3 space. I think there's a lot that as musicians, as artists, we can learn from today's episode is just like being a founder, being an artist, connecting with the people, and really building with the community and caring and building those relationships uh online and offline, and that this connection is so important, and getting people to understand the music and connecting with people and growing it where it's not just holding this public forum, but connecting with individuals and relationships. So I hope you're able to learn something from today, and hello to the Ding Dong Dao. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate all of you for being here today and joining here on the Aaron Jack Show. Thank you so much to Doing Good HQ, where you as the artist, as the creative, as the musician, get to also be the philanthropist, and create together with the nonprofits and create together. So I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you next time on the Aaron Jack Show. Thanks so much.